Well, physical, to me, it was always tying in the physical aspects because the physical aspects also tie in with mental toughness. So in the military, we have to be physically fit. And actually, I was pretty good. I became better and better physically. I became probably in the top.
Awekenge, this is Mental Matters, hosted by Asego Toto.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Mental Matters. I'm your host, Asego Toto. And before we dive into today's incredible conversation, I have a small favor to ask. If you enjoy what you hear today, please take a moment to rate and review our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Your feedback not only helps us improve, but also helps others discover the valuable insights we share every week. And if you find today's episode particularly inspiring or insightful, don't forget to share it with your friends, family, or anyone you think could benefit from it. Thank you for your support. It truly means the world to us. Now, let's get back into our conversation.
Firstly, I just touch on your challenges, your early challenges. Your book mentions facing learning disabilities and a bone disease at a young age. Can you elaborate on how you navigated these challenges and what impact they had on your self-esteem?
Pain and failure were introduced to me very early in life. That's probably why I did well, ironically. I learned about pain and failure early on. Probably at the age of 7, I failed the first grade. I had a diagnosed learning disability. The name, they don't have the name. Reading and writing and following instructions academics were really difficult for me. Even though I have 3 college degrees, I struggled my entire life with it. The learning disability at that time, they thought it was dyslexia. Right now, I think it may have been a form of autism. As I look back on it, maybe like a slight form of autism. I was always a little weird, a little strange, my behavior was off a little bit. People picked up on that throughout my life. So that was the failure. The failure was academics. The physical pain was I had a disease when I was 9 years old called osteomyelitis. It's a bone disease. So pain, kids now, that is probably, even I had a lot of ups and downs, but I do feel that helped me with resiliency and getting through things. My pain and failure was introduced early. So I felt that life was that way. And so when I had other situations along the way, I didn't bounce back real quick. It was still hurtful, but I was much more resilient because the failure and the pain were introduced to me early on. I had a very difficult struggle from boyhood to adulthood, manhood, what have you. So that's kind of how that story sets up. And I still have problems as far as I think all of your viewers, yourself out there, could probably change a tire or do a very easy task much quicker than me and much easier than me. It takes me a lot longer. I have to work harder at doing something. Yeah.
That's very fascinating. And also, as someone who is before I say something, the audio is all right now. I can hear you properly. I just wanted to tell you that. And I feel like in terms of building resilience, and I don't know how it feels to have a bone disease. And also, I would like to dive deeply on that. What type of, when you say it's bone disease, what type of bone disease is it? And also, as you said that you grew up having challenges of growing up, of the transition from being a boy to a man, did it ever had an impact on your relationships in terms of childhood friends?
Okay. Off the bat, childhood friends were pretty good. I'm still friends with a lot of those kids in the neighborhood. The osteomyelitis, the bone disease, was called osteomyelitis. It's an infection of the bone. I fell down a million times, but there was one time I fell down, and the way it was explained to me, it triggered an infection in my left knee. My left knee basically dissolved. It blew up to the size of a big cantaloupe, maybe a pineapple, and it was pus. It kind of dissolved with pus. And it was in the 1970s. I was only 9 years old at the time, and they had to put these injections of antibiotics directly. A needle would go directly into my knee, and that was very painful. I had to have a periodic series of injections over a period of time. To get rid of that, it was a bacterial infection, osteomyelitis, and it did go away, but my knee grew out differently, and I had issues. I could not play sports, and I was not big. I was only 5'8", 100, and I only grew up to be 5'8", so I wasn't a big guy anyway for sports, but it limited my ability. I was walking around on crutches. So the disease was osteomyelitis, and it was a bone. It did go away, but it gave me clicks and clangs throughout my military service. So when I did not feel that I was going to get an education, a college education at all. The counselors, the teachers, the expectations were I was basically going to be a manual labor person. That's my thought in my boyhood child. Even as a teenager, I did not think there's no way in hell I could. Physically, I was never anything big or like I enjoyed sports, but I couldn't really play. So any type of sports was out of the question. Any type of college was out of the question. So I felt I had to go into the military. And not the regular duty. A good question would be, how in the world could you get into the military when you have academic issues and physical issues? So because you have to take an entrance exam. They don't take just anybody, but I went into a lesser form of the military in the beginning called the reserves to get my foot in the door. Reserves is like a weekend warrior, 1 week in a month, nothing too crazy. But I lied to them about my physical problems. I told them I'm fine. So I lied on that to get in. As far as my academic problems, that's my question. I don't know how I got in academically. I feel they just passed me in. They just needed numbers, and that's how I got in on the test. Because I know a standardized test, just any type of college entrance, any of you or yourself, anybody out there is going to make better than me just because I've taken so many of them, and I know how low I go on those tests. So going into the military is sort of like an entrance exam. You got to meet a certain threshold. But I think they just passed me on. So that's kind of how it was. I still had a few friends, but not a whole lot of friends. I was nothing popular to look at as far as physical or academically wise. So that's kind of how I was going in from boyhood to manhood. Not a lot of expectations were placed on me. Thankfully, my mother and my father knew that we'll just let this guy go for the most part. Yeah.
And I would like, firstly, I just want to go back in terms of you mentioned that you couldn't play any sports. And as I would say, as teenagers, we have this thing of trying to participate in this such thing and play with other kids, and you being not able to play any type of sport. How did you take on that? Secondly,
yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Secondly, I just wanted to ask in terms of you were enlisted at 17, as you said that you applied for the reserve. And how did you overcome any doubt or anxiety?
Okay. Playing with other kids and developing friendships. I played in the neighborhood with kids. There was before electronics, before any type of internet. We would just play outside, lakes, fishing, hunting, exploring. We lived in the countryside, so the nature became our playground. And I had a few trusted friends that I had around the neighborhood. So that's kind of how the play and I'd always been very, very shy with girls. So girls didn't come into the picture until much later. I didn't build up, I didn't have confidence. Now, as far as confidence and building confidence, it was the military that gave me a lot of confidence. I told you I joined when I was 17. I was still in high school. I was in the 11th grade of high school when I joined, when I raised my right hand to defend the country, because I was older than everyone. I never told people that I had failed the first grade. They just thought I was their same age. But I was able to get into the military because I was older. And I went to basic training, which is the active duty entrance part of the military, between my junior and senior year of high school. So I was still 17 when I went into the training part of it. It was the summer when we had the time off. That is where I built up some confidence, because there they almost kicked me out. I felt that I was going to get kicked out of the military at the age of 17 because I was not adapting too well. I told you my disability, my ability to learn new things is very difficult. And in the military, especially in the beginning with all of the instructions, you have to learn things. And I wasn't keeping up to speed. And they sent me to a criminal military, it's like a military brig, as a motivational technique to try to somehow break me or to make me. It was a drug deal. It was a screaming and yelling session that went on for about 4 hours, but it was hell. I got out of there, stayed in the military. I did graduate from that basic training facility. That is where my confidence was. I built my confidence very much up. So the resiliency kicked in. In other words, I went to a different level of hell during the basic training. It was 1983. Yeah, 1983. It was, if you've ever seen the movie Full Metal Jacket, that is the type of situation that I was in. That was exactly the situation of the basic training, Full Metal Jacket. And I come out of there. And then eventually I had so much confidence, I found my first girlfriend in the 12th grade. So things started to change. I got a girl, and then I got basic training. And I was also very focused. I developed this mental steely-eyed focus. I started to question, why can't I not go to college? I think I might go to college. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I think I might, because I started questioning. I think I can do more things than what they say, because they don't understand the level of hell I just got out of. I do. But when you go through trauma, you can't really explain it maybe until later, like I can now. But I said, no, what? I think I got something here, because I just went through that, and I said, well, I am going to college. And I started out bottom. I was still enlisted. I was still a soldier in the reserves, and I went to a junior college, a less than best college. And then it went on from there. So that's where that question of where that resiliency kicked in, where I found a different level of resiliency, going to that military brig, that's a criminal correction facility, and then getting the hell kicked out of me, and then building up from there, and with the girl and all that stuff.
And you spoke about physical challenges, and also your disability of having difficulty of learning new things. And as I believe that everywhere where it comes to institutions, like in places of work, and when you apply in universities, there's this stigma that people who have disabilities cannot do such, I would say, that some things. So would you say that within the military there was that thing of you having the physical challenges and learning new things? Did it impact you a lot? And yeah,
I started to with my legs, with my knees. Well, I had one knee that was bad, but I had to build the muscles up around the legs. So my physical part began to build really good. And actually, I became stronger from the basic training because I paid attention to the leg lifts, the building up all the muscles that surround the knee and the leg. So that became better and better. It did affect me later